As a business leader, the most important thing you want to do is control risks. And today I want to share with you the biggest risk to your business, which is cyber. A lot of business owners, business leaders, very naive to the risk, don't know what they should do about it. They literally do not understand that the cost of a ransomware incident is usually, to recover from, will cost in excess of £250,000, dollars, euros, whatever. That's a lot of money, and there's lots you can do to massively reduce and control that risk. So today we're just going to go through those things, make sure you've got clarity in your mind of what you need to do. Hi, I'm Dave and I help business leaders to make better use of technology. Now this risk has been evolving for a long time, but most business leaders don't care, they're not interested until they have a cyber breach, and then all of a sudden, no, we better spend money on it. So let's not do that, okay? Let's approach this from a much more pragmatic approach of figuring out what we need to do now. So let's just go through a few things that we need to be doing. We need to control the technology risk. We need to train the staff, and we need to mitigate the risk. Because obviously you know that the biggest risks are those unknown unknowns. So let me tell you now, if you're not clear about this in your mind, you will be a subject of a cyber attack, either eventually or you already will have been. It's just simply a matter of time. It's all very well for me to bang on about that and go, no, doom and gloom, scaremongering, but let me give you some practical advice. The first problem I see is businesses are just not spending enough money when it comes to cyber. You should be budgeting a minimum of around £20, dollars, euros, etc. per user per month to spend on cyber. If you're just paying for antivirus or a firewall, that's not going to cut it anymore in 2024. It's just not a suitable solution. Those things are okay. They help reduce the risk. Biggest thing you can do, training. All of your staff must go through mandatory phishing training, that's those scam emails, and training to generate good passwords, cyber hygiene, make sure that they understand how to do it just for their work as well as their personal data. Because you could get a breach coming through for people's personal Facebook accounts. Second thing to do, education, that will just get you so much further already. Second thing to do, you need to control people's use of passwords and security when they log on. Every account must have multi-factor authentication, that code that you put in or you press OK on your phone, or even better, passwordless. We're doing passwordless now, which is great. But we need to teach people how to generate great passwords, because what we've taught people in the past is how to make passwords that humans can't remember, but computers can guess really easily. So I've got some training, I'll link to it. You can watch and you can share with your team how to generate great passwords that are less easy to hack. But eventually we're going to move to passwordless. That will be much easier than you just have your mobile phone. That's what you use to verify who you are, or biometrics. But my point is that that's the second biggest area where people are attacked, because they don't use secure passwords and they use the same password everywhere. And it doesn't matter how much we bang on about it, that's what happens. Then you need to look at the tools and processes you've got in place. You must have some kind of privilege escalation management tool. The ones we use, there's one called Auto Elevate, there's one called Threat Locker. If you use managed service provider, I'm sure they can recommend one to you. What this does is it means if you want to install a printer, or if you want to install an application, rather than just the computer says no, you can press, I'd like to request this. If it's something that your IT team recognise, they just go, that's already authorised. If they're not sure, they can choose to say yes, that's fine, or they can say no. What that means is that you're not waiting around raising support requests, waiting for someone to install stuff. It's just not very practical nowadays. Then we need to look at next generation firewalls and antivirus. There's loads of technology here, and this is probably the most expensive part of the thing that you need to get done. I recommend you look at a next generation antivirus that has some kind of AI for detecting threats. But then that's great, but if it doesn't work, which it may not do, it might block 99.99% of threats, but that's still not 100%. What will happen is you need to limit people's access basically to where data is stored. So your use of maybe payroll data is probably minimal. So just don't have access to it. You don't need access to it. Worst case scenario, you can ask your IT team to give you access. You put the data into silos. That will be much better for the future when AI comes in, but it also means that if somebody's account is hacked, it limits what data is accessible. You need to have processes and procedures, not authoritarian style management. Pay this bill now. That's a big risk. The tools and techniques will only go so far. what you need to do is you need to be able to detect persistent threats. So this is something where if you've got somebody that's already got access to your system, they might sit on there for a long time before they do anything, and you need to have a tool that can detect that. And again, these tools are not perfect, they're not infallible, the market's changing quite rapidly, but those are the kind of things you need to have in place. So let's just make sure you've got these things in place. This is the bare minimum, by the way, the bare minimum you need. You need to train your staff, phishing training, so they recognise scam emails. You need to train them to recognise the current scams. You need to train them to generate and use good, strong passwords that they can remember and that are reasonably long. You need to have next generation antivirus. You need to have a thing called a privilege escalation management, and you need to have the control so if you are hacked, you can detect it. There's lots of people out there that will claim to sell you a solution that does everything and makes the tea. My personal realization with this is that's not really the case. You need quite a few different tools to bring them together. It's quite complicated and it's evolving all the time. Finally, let's just talk briefly about compliance. Now, if you're in a compliance regulated industry, you'll know about this already, lots of boxes to tick. The problem is that we have with the NIST and NIST and Cyber Essentials at the moment is these tools are essentially tick box exercises. You say, yes, we've got this, 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 and this. What we want to do instead, and this is something that techie people are really bad at, is create a risk assessment, tell you what the biggest risks are, and then work out how to mitigate those. Maybe we get insurance. Maybe we stop using the system because it's obsolete. Maybe we need to buy a very expensive tool to mitigate that risk. But there's lots of really cheap, really simple things that can be done that cost basically nothing. For example, at the moment, I'm working on a customer and several users have got global admin rights on their Microsoft tenant. So that means if their account gets hacked, they can do whatever they want because they can access everything, absolutely everything. And there's no reason that should be the case. There's no good reason why people need that kind of access. Control that access really reduces the risk. So what I really want to get you thinking about is don't just rely on your IT team to go, yeah, we've got all that covered, tick, tick, tick. Ask them what the biggest risks are, what the biggest threats are, and try and understand it a bit more. By doing that, and you can align your business strategy to the risks, because obviously you've got other risks in your business that you need to manage, so you can put those into the same bundle. Make sure you pick up the things at the highest risk. And the problem is that IT people are notoriously bad at explaining what these risks are. So I think just have that in mind, that you're managing £250,000 worth of risk. What are you going to do about it? If you'd like to know more, get in touch. I hope that's helpful. Thanks for watching.